What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode 717 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Hot Tags podcast of the week. I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
Rob D. Fleece.
Yo.
And of course, all of you listening as well. So thank you for joining us. Thank you in advance for leaving your comments below and telling us what you think about all the different things we're going to talk about here. And, you know, the way that the hot tags normally goes down, it's a combination of the TV recap and then a bunch of rumors and some speculation for some different things here and there. We're going to talk about the Raja Jackson thing that has been the main story that's happened this entire week in pro wrestling for the most part. We're going to talk about some WWE Speed, which we very rarely talk about. So strap yourselves in for that, and make sure that if you are elsewhere outside of smarkoutmoment.com or YouTube or something, that you hit up something like the Discord, sign up for that channel and those different, that server over there, and, you know, kind of chat it up over on that front. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it might be, make sure you hit your like buttons or subscribe, your follows, whatever it might be on those different kind of things, and tweet something out or post something or whatever those things are. If you are on YouTube, by the way, though, make sure that you are subscribed. Ring that notification bell, because that will have an email alert set up for you after WWE Clash in Paris. I'll be doing a post show for that. No post show, most likely, for the ROH Death Before Dishonor event. It's going to basically kind of depend on if I feel like doing a post show or not, but I'm not planning on doing one yet. It, you know, kind of also depends on how much attention I'm really paying attention to it, because if I'm in and out and just kind of reporting on what's happening, then I kind of don't see the point. Plus, I don't really think that anybody's going to tune in for a post show for ROH. So is it really worth me making the graphics? I don't know. If you guys are always interested in seeing more things like that, though, light it up. Let me know and tell me, you know, hey, I would love to see more ROH on this show, or like, I'd love to see more coverage of TNA or whatever it might be. I don't know, whatever it might, New Japan, blah, blah, blah. If you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, though, patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. We're on YouTube. You got the YouTube channel membership and the thanks button. Darkcast tier, Pick a Poison tier, even $1 a month, greatly appreciated as well. And Redbubble and TeePublic is currently where you can find your merchandise. So if you want to have a shirt, or you want to pick up a hat, or whatever it might be, then go ahead and head on over there and shop around for Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and A Mango Tees for different designs that we have there. So every once in a while, I get somebody that buys something like the A Mango Tees design that just says, "This shirt sucks." And I'm always wondering where that's going, especially if it ends up being like "This shirt sucks," and they put it on like a poster or like a magnet. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how that's working, but sure. Maybe there's like a built-in joke that I'm not understanding, or, you know. Clash in Paris is what we talked about before, so go back and check out that if you are interested in the predictions and the rundown of that. I don't think any of our predictions has changed since then, but hey, you know. Actually, does anybody have any different like thoughts after having NXT and Dynamite somehow? I'm assuming not.
I just hate John Cena's booking even more.
We will kind of tangentially talk about Forbidden Door a little bit some more, and Heat Wave a little bit some more as we talk about the TV recap stuff. I already gave my opinions about that, but I'll give a chance for Rob and Callum to talk about what they thought. But let's go back and let's talk about this Raja Jackson thing and get into one of these nitty gritty types of topics. The long and short of it, from what I've gathered, and you guys can fill me in, or, you know, clarify, correct something if it ends up being the case. From what I understand, Syko Stu is an indie wrestler that has been around for, 15 plus years or something. And that he thought, whether it was him thinking it on his own or whether he was told this, that Rampage Jackson's kid was down for doing some kind of a spot of this can that he would smash over his head. Seemingly, he smashed the can over his head in a way that was protecting him. Like it was a, gimmicked can in the sense of, it's an open can. It's not going to hurt as much. Plus, he's going to hit his own finger and not actually hit Jackson on the top of his head. Completely no-sold it. And then, supposedly, whatever the mic, again, maybe I got the wrong information. I haven't read every single report. That there was like a built-in, okay, well, Jackson's going to do something later, and then we can, play off of that. And then that's where he just goes nuts and he takes him down, he flips him in a way that really seems dangerous, and then punches him over 20 times and really messed him up bad. I guess he's like conscious now, which is good, and has lost a lot of teeth and was choking on his teeth and his blood, and terrible situation that obviously should not have happened. And again, maybe I'm missing some information here, but I'm pretty much firmly in the camp of Raja Jackson should go to jail, and that this is something that you can't just hand wave as like, well, he was gonna give him a receipt for something that apparently he apologized for, and it was like a miscommunication, and that Jackson didn't get hurt or anything like that. But maybe I'm missing something to it. It seems to me like angry kid who has a dad who is a fighter and probably grew up with both the nature and the nurture of having anger issues, probably wanted to prove that he everybody talks about how they could kick my dad's ass and they could kick my ass, blah, blah, blah. Goes in for himself and then is, going massively overboard. I don't see an argument for why people like Mark Henry and some other people are arguing that this is fine. Enlighten me if I'm wrong, though. Disagree with me, whatever. How do you guys feel on this whole thing?
Throw him in jail. I mean, like, I think the weird thing that everybody's trying to get at is, people should have kind of stepped in to stop some things, sooner. And I can understand and agree with that in the sense that, like, hey, after that first punch, you should have been, like, this is Knokx Pro, right? This is Rikishi's school, as I understand it. And yeah, I just wish they would have stepped up a little quicker, but, clearly the kid went overboard. But I think, for my opinion, you nailed it on the head. The nature, the nurture, I think people were egging him on and being like, oh, you can't let him treat you like that. Like, it was just a powder keg, and unfortunately, it really went off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why there would be any sort of, well, there should be, even though there inevitably is, like, contention or debate about this. Like, it's a guy who got into the ring and overstepped the boundaries by a million miles. Like, you can't, like, legit, especially if you are, like, a trained MMA fighter, you can't go in and just beat up a merciless guy who, after the first punch, was pretty much knocked unconscious. So you just can't do that in any setting or any environment whatsoever. Like, the ideas about the receipt, people don't seem to understand what the language of a receipt in pro wrestling actually means. It's not a, do something a couple of, like, I don't know,
half
hours,
hour
whatever.
beforehand.
Half an hour beforehand, and then decide you're going to do it straight afterwards. Like, that's like premeditation. It's not a receipt. Receipt is you chop someone too hard, or you accidentally try to do a work punch and caught them on the chin a little bit, so they get to do one a little bit back to you. It's like that's there's an etiquette where it comes to pro wrestling, when it comes to receipts and stuff like that. And this is just it's just flat out assault.
Nobody on this podcast should be the one having to explain that.
No, exactly, yeah, but as I say, it's just flat out assault of a person in an environment where safety and looking after your opponent or anybody else's safety is of the utmost concern. And just to take liberties like that, and as Rob says, like, the fact that nobody, like the referee or anybody else, just stood there and watched for a good solid 10-15 seconds while he just beat the shit out of this guy is, it's like, they're not in the wrong in the sense of they're not the ones doing it, but they, like, people need to step in earlier than that and just get this guy off of this. Like, surely after 3 or 4 punches, you realise that this isn't the story anymore, or this isn't part of the angle. This is like an actual, like, attempted, I don't know if attempted murder's maybe like a stretch of it, but it's an attempted, well, it's an assault happening in front of your eyes, so step in and do something about it. So
the phrasing,
it's just a sickening display all around, really.
The phrasing attempted murder, I think, is getting the wrong idea from certain people, because I do see some people being like, oh, he didn't want to murder him. And it's like, no, the problem isn't that he didn't want to murder. Like, I'm sure
he could have killed him.
Like, I'm sure he didn't go into this going, I'm going to punch him so much and so hard that he is going to die. But he went into this going, I need to somehow, for some fucking reason, his ego, his little dick syndrome, whatever it might be, I don't know, felt the need to be like, I'm going to fuck him up way past the receipt, because the receipt idea is supposed to be basically, hey, you've been laying it in too much. I'm going to hit you back once and prove to you, knock it off. And that's it. So if he would have, even if he would have hit him one time, I think that there could be more of a discussion of like, okay, well, maybe he shouldn't have hit him after a half hour plus or whatever, but at least he would have only hit him once. And that's not going overboard. He didn't think, or he did. One way or another, this is bad, because if he didn't think, oh, I can punch him a bunch of times and that's going to lead to potential death, then that's like, okay, well, then he's like an uncaged psychopath. You know, like that's pure, like you tap into that animalistic, I shut my brain off and I just go into punching mode type of mentality. And then if he did think, well, if that ends up happening, it happens. Oh, well, then that's even worse in some ways, because then that's premeditated. And that's where the attempted murder thing comes in, because it's not necessarily attempted murder in the sense of, okay, well, can we prove that he sat down and he wrote on his phone, I'm going to fucking kill this guy and it's going to be after a certain amount of punch. Like, no, he didn't do that, I'm sure. But for assault to turn into that's when you really have the whole, did you not at all think of the fact that you were doing something that is hurting somebody this poorly and that's like an issue? Like, and yeah, to me, that rules into attempted murder, because you are way past the limit of trying to say that this isn't self-defense. It's not like he hit him right after he did the can spot. And then you can make the argument that like that wasn't planned. He thought that he was getting assaulted, so he hit him. And then he didn't know if he was going to get back up. And, you know, like you can have more debate, I think, on that front. For you to sit there and go, oh, okay, so we talked about it. I didn't get hurt to begin with. And then we talked about it. And then he apologized. And then time went by. And then I decided I'm going to just punch him into oblivion. No, fuck this guy. I don't see any argument that's pro Raja Jackson that makes any sense to me. And every argument that I've seen from people trying to defend that kind of seems to smell a little bit to me of, oh, just accept it, you pussy, which is like fucking ridiculous. Or it seems to be, I'm gonna support this guy to be contrarian, like just to be, I have the different opinion from what everybody else does, because there are plenty of people that do that. And of course you can see it on every single possible argument you could have in, you know, in and outside of pro wrestling. There's always people that are always going to be like, everybody says sky's blue, I'm going to say that it's more of an off green, just to be a fucking asshole about it. Like, you know, and it pisses me
I disagree with that. I disagree with that statement.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you disagree. You know?
Oh yeah, well, look outside. It's clearly violet. Get your shit together, Tony.
Hey, now that you said it's violet, in you know, however many months or years until I see you again, I'm gonna fuck you up.
It's fucking great.
For anybody that's curious, I'm not gonna fucking do that. Of course, I'm not the type of person. I've been in one fight in my entire life, and I didn't start it, and I still don't even know why we got into that fight. And my friend, that, you know, I'm friends with the guy, literally have a message on my phone from him right now. That's just, I guess it's a, I don't know. He probably sent me a fart video because he says stinking time.
And besides, Tony can barely take a full breath. I can barely take a full step. It would be a whole thing.
Hey, maybe we should broadcast.
But then I run the podcast. Then it's my podcast. Once you, I'm just playing the long card. I'm just waiting for you two to kill each other, and then I take over the podcast.
That's what this is all day.
And then we switch all the things on the website where instead of AEW coming after WWE, then it becomes the AEW review.
Exactly. Oh, WWE, as soon as you guys are gone, WWE gets wiped off Smark own entirely. Like we never mention it again. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. AEW Power Rankings, AEW Fantasy League. It's going to be amazing.
Well, one can hope. So it seems like one of the things that's tied into this is that 3 people have been released from the WWE ID program. And those names, which I'm sure everybody knows, are Aaron Roberts, Ice Williams, and Jordan Oasis. I haven't been able to see anything. Maybe I'm not clicking on the right things or whatever, but everything that I click on seems to be that they were associated with the Knokx Pro Academy, but at the same time, I am seeing things that I was like, these people trained there, but they weren't necessarily still there or something. I don't know for sure about that, but if they were released because they were the 3 guys that happened to be a part of that, and WWE is just wiping out, like, we don't want any association with this for the time being, then I understand that, but it sucks for them. But it is kind of weird timing, because if they're not released because of the Knokx Pro thing, and they were released just because they didn't really like what they were doing, Aaron Roberts hasn't shown up for Evolve at all. So I don't know what they would have been tracking that would have been like...
They're definitely wiping Knokx Pro. It's off the website.
Yeah, it's not on their social media stuff.
They've been told to remove the branding from their social media stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they're setting this, straight.
But do you know for a fact if it's like if Ice Williams is a Knokx Pro guy?
I wouldn't know, but that to me would add up. I can check real quick, but
everything that I see just like kind of dances around it, and then it's like, these people like were released and Jordan Oasis was trained there or whatever, and it's like it's not like actually saying, okay, well, all 3 of these were released and they were all part of the whole separation from Knokx Pro or something.
Well, he's definitely from the area, so I wouldn't be surprised if that is why. So he's done some work in Vegas as well, but he's from the California area, so it could very well be a Knokx Pro connection.
And the so Aaron Roberts out of that didn't show up at all for Evolve. He hasn't done anything on WWE TV, or if he has, it's something that like, maybe he was like a security guard in a segment or something. But I think that that's interesting. I think even more interesting is like they finally started to use Ice Williams in Evolve. He just popped up over the course of like the past 2 weeks or so and started to like challenge Sean Legacy, and like even on last night's episode of Evolve, it was like, okay, well, eventually I'm gonna have that match with Sean Legacy. I don't know if they recorded it already, and then if that will happen, or if they're just gonna drop that, and then next thing you know, it's like Sean Legacy is like not referencing Ice Williams at all. Jordan Oasis has been used more in the past like 4 weeks than he had ever been used before, and just had a match again on the last night episode of Evolve against Brooks Jensen, who I guess is doing a new gimmick now where he says he's from Alabama, Bama. That's going to get over.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's his new thing. Is that, and he has like an even more Southern accent now. Like I guess he's just going for like that old school vibe or something. I like Brooks Jensen, but they're not giving him a lot of tools to succeed.
As do I.
But the ID thing is still a little bit strange for me because it's hard to really track who's involved and what's happening there. I like the idea. I still think that it makes sense to have some kind of like you're tangentially related to WWE, but not necessarily signed to a contract, and then you can promote stuff on GCW or whatever the fuck it is, and just be like, this is an ID championship match. It's Kylie Ray versus so-and-so, or it's who's the men's champion? Cappuccino Jones, I think.
Jones.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, Cappuccino
you really
Jones.
That iced coffee tag team.
That would have made more sense than Cartwheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I hadn't seen a single thing from Aaron Roberts. I haven't seen a single thing from Ice Williams. He seems like he's a decent talker. Jordan Oasis, I didn't love the backpack gimmick. It's not the worst that's ever existed.
Wait, what?
Oh, so you haven't seen his gimmick on Evolve?
No, absolutely not. What?
His gimmick on Evolve was essentially he's a wanderer. So he just always had his backpack. And it was always like kind of the idea of like, all right, well, I'm just like kind of going around and then I'll pop up and wrestle here and there. It wasn't translating super well. And he came across more as like a guy that was backstage that they just gave a match to, for at least for my taste. Like it just didn't really fully click yet. But yeah, he didn't seem like he was like, you know, a bad talent. Like these ID people and the Evolve talents, I give them a little bit more leeway because they seem to be very rough around the edges. Unless there are people that are like, these people are great enough that they could just be in NXT right now. Because there's some people that are like, I don't know how they're still in Evolve, even if they're like, you know, at the top. Like Callie Armstrong could be on NXT, and you know she's gonna be better than some of the people that they have on there. And then somebody like a Marcus Mathers, I haven't seen enough from yet. Okay, I can understand not necessarily signing him yet. Maybe give him a little bit more time. Summer Sorrell is in LFG and in Evolve, and she seems good. Hayes Jameson is like one of the standouts of Evolve or for LFG, etc. But then, you know, I still feel like we're in a spot where they haven't quite figured out exactly what they want to do with a lot of this. So if they did release these three guys on their own and it's not related to Knokx Pro, then I'm curious what reached the point where they were like, nope, fuck you. We're using you, but we don't like you enough to fire you. While as other people are like, I haven't seen a single thing from Harley Riggins yet. You know, we're like, yeah, I'm not particularly wowed yet by Tate Wilder, another country boy. It's Gall's great, but that's just because I like assholes. You know, it's just like it's great to have a character that just repeats his fucking name. And
listen, the clip of you saying "I like assholes" could get taken out of context, but I mean, happen
it depends
to know
on the asshole.
You do tend to like the piece of shit characters.
Yeah. Do you know It's Gall? Have you seen him?
I have seen It's Gall, but mostly because I did a lot of the early posts when he got signed to the ID thing. I like the name. I saw the little vignette of him working out. They played that during not No Mercy, but whatever, the pay-per-view, the Heat Wave.
Where every rep he does, he's going, "It's Gall."
It's Gall. Like,
it's cool. It's Gall. Okay.
He seems like he's a little vain, maybe suited for Vanity Project.
I'm kind of surprised he's not in there, but I guess he doesn't quite fit the like.
He's not as Abercrombie bitch as the other people are, but he could be.
Heartbreak, Jackson Drake, that kind of group. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that didn't show up yet, a guy that hasn't wrestled yet, and then a guy that's wrestled like 3 times. So it's we're going to track eventually in the future if they end up popping up elsewhere. I'm sure if they're released from the Knokx Pro thing, if WWE likes them enough, they'll just sign them to some new deal or something. If they don't, then they must not have liked enough of them for them to be able to fire them anyway. And then maybe we never hear from him. I don't know. But they are switching up some stuff here and there. And we'll talk about some NXT stuff when we get into the NXT recap and all. Before we do that, though, we're going to backtrack and talk about some other things from... I guess let's go back to Monday Night Raw. And then... Monday Night Raw. Yeah, every time I say that, I think of that too, though. We talked some of the stuff on the Clash in Paris stuff, actually, because predominantly Clash in Paris is a Monday Night Raw pay-per-view, so we don't need to get super deep into a lot of that. with like the, you know, they didn't do anything with Naomi, that whole thing. The other things we didn't talk about though, they repeated again the exact same thing of Dominic Mysterio's backstage talking to El Grande Americano, and JD McDonough and Finn Balor come up and ask what's up, and Dom says not to worry about it. It's quite literally the exact same segment as what they were last week, so it's another repeat of, we got no story, but if we keep telling the same story beat, then it's going to seem like we're pushing the story along. And I really just like, I want, at this point, Judgment Day to break up, and I want Dom to have his own stable. I want Balor and McDonough to just be off doing their own thing. I want Roxanne to do her own thing. I want Raquel to do her own thing, whatever it might be. Blah on that front. I think we talked about Bayley.
Look, I don't know why you want Balor and McDonough attached at the hip still. I'd like to squeeze whatever's left of the star power that Finn Balor has as a singles, and I thought that Demonito would be potentially leading the way towards, you know, Finn Balor Demon resurrection thing. But I'd like to see him have another run as like a singles. It's been long enough now to where it feels like it would be fresh if he just did what he was doing pre-Judgment Day.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Or honestly, I'd be down for him to go to AEW.
I mean, anybody who's remotely in the circle of Bullet Club, I think would be okay in AEW. Why? Okay, why are you saying no? Thank you. You just think the season has passed for him?
Very much so. Yes. Okay,
I respect that.
And, you know, I mean, a lot of the other things, like I said, the Jey Uso stuff, the Broadbreaker stuff, all that factors into Clash in Paris. We already talked about that. So I'm not really seeing anything else happen on Raw that we didn't get into that doesn't lump into there. NXT, though, we haven't talked about that yet. So Ricky Saints calls out Obafemi. Josh Briggs comes out. We had a number one contenders match a little bit later on. Ricky Saints beats Josh Briggs. So we have the match for the next pay-per-view. Now that's going to be No Mercy. And that's coming up in a few weeks. They also had announced NXT Homecoming and Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc's obviously happening in October. NXT Homecoming is being called that because that's them going back to Full Sail. Now, what I find funny about this is they could have just had this be it's at Full Sail and that's it. They didn't need to give it some kind of a gimmicky name or make it seem like it's a special episode. Even if they decided that they really wanted to, they could have given it almost any kind of name. Obviously, it would have made sense if they called it Hell in a Cell or something like that. But they could have called it some other names, or they could have been like, hey, that's where... I don't know, what's one of the other ones that they haven't used yet? That's where Spring Breakin' wouldn't make sense. Gold Rush, there you go. Good, perfect example. Like that's NXT Gold Rush is happening at Full Sail. But they went with Homecoming, and I find that it's very, very unlikely in my mind, or it could be a coincidence. I'll put it out there. It might be a coincidence. I don't fucking buy that it's a coincidence that whenever AEW goes to Daly's Place, their smaller venue that they frequently ran out of for well over a year, that they call that AEW Homecoming episodes of Dynamite and such, and have a yellow logo. And NXT has Homecoming and Full Sail with a yellow logo. I'm like, okay, you know.
Look, I would love to say it's a reach. I think you are reaching a little, but also the proof is in the pudding, and they keep doing this shit. So keep reaching, pal, because who the fuck knows that's what is actually on their mind. I think it's just, hey, this is literally the Homecoming, black and gold era. That's why they're using the yellow. I didn't think of that until you said that, but now that you said it, yeah, it checks out. It does.
That Goldfinger quote, once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, three times is enemy action. They've done enough of this stuff for me. I'm like, I could see somebody being like, why don't we call it Homecoming? Because that's what they do when they go to a Daly's place or something. But I think it's interesting that they're going to be at Full Sail. I think that's kind of cool.
I would consider going. I don't think I am, but I will be at the AEW Homecoming in Jacksonville. I would hope that Homecoming features the people you would like it to feature. Like Bailey should do something special. DIY should do something special. Anyone from that era. But give Finn Balor a third NXT title run. I don't care. It's better than what he's doing on Raw. Like, I hope they do some fun stuff because Full Sail NXT was special.
I do expect that we'll probably have some backstage segments where it'll be like,
they'll fucking debut,
like Rhea Ripley is backstage for a split second to give a heads up of like, go beat her, Jada, or like one of those kind of things.
Go get her, Zarya. You are also Australian.
Yeah, something like that. Is she Australian? I thought she was from somewhere else.
No.
What am I thinking? Where she was from? I don't know. Maybe I was thinking that she was like from New Zealand or something. Ignorant American just fucking lumps things together. To be fair, ignorant American over here, Tony Mango, lumps together states in the United States and just goes, I don't know, it's the fucking Midwest. You're all Iowa in my brain.
It is a Dakota. You don't know further stuff.
Even New York, I'm like, fuck you. You're somewhere not near me. Fuck you. Like, I don't care about locations. Such a blanket statement. Locations suck. Kalani Jordan beat Blake Monroe. They're continuing this Jordan Grace thing, and they're doing it in the most like blah way because it was just Jordan Grace standing near Blake Monroe.
Yeah, she tried to run again. Jordan chained at the door. I don't know how nobody saw that while she was doing it, but okay. Kalani got to beat her in the middle of the ring this time, but Kalani has yet to beat her without the interference of Jordan Grace, which I imagine genuinely is going to be a story that they tell at some point.
If they keep the continuity. If not, it'll just be, we never talk about it again. I thought it was a great idea that they did this blindfold match just because it's so ridiculous. Lexis King sprays Miles Bourne in the face and then, messes up his eyesight a little bit. So Ava books them in a blindfold match, and Miles Bourne does the babyface thing ahead of time of like, all right, everybody, I'm going to need you to point me in the right direction and be, hooting and hollering or whatever he had said for when I'm pointing towards Lexis King or whatever. Good ending to it. That's the way that these things should go. Lexis King takes advantage of the referee not paying attention, pulls the blindfold off, and uses that for his advantage and whatever. Lexis King, the douchebag character. I like it. It works. Ren Sinclair had her whole thing with Kendall Gray, Tyra Steele, Albert Fire, Chelsea Green, all that stuff. Some reports saying that Ethan Page might be coming up to SmackDown relatively soon. I would be down for it. He's more than ready to be on the main roster. He was on the main AEW programming and stuff. It's not like he needed to go through a whole reconditioning or whatever, but a lot of that stuff, yeah, it is what it is. Like Jada Parker seems a little bit more babyface now. For some reason, Stax is still not concerned about his Heritage Cup, and he's flirting with Ariana Grace. Whatever, blah blah blah. But they did clarify a little bit more about Speed. So WWE Speed is now going to be part of NXT, and it's so weird how this works. And that it's got to be some kind of a contractual thing. And that they will never explain it because nobody's going to be curious enough to ask, except for, somebody like me. But the entire time that Speed was on X, they didn't reference this fuck all. They never had Dragon Lee holding the championship when he would come out on Raw or SmackDown. They never had Sol Ruka carrying the belt, or Candice LeRae never carried her championship. None of that shit at all. And then once they stop recording episodes for Speed, and then they stop broadcasting that on X, suddenly Sol Ruca gets acknowledged as double champion, and she starts having both of her belts. And then after a few weeks or so, Speed is coming to NXT, and on next week's episode of NXT, they're going to start I don't even know if you could really call it a tournament at this point, but it's Candice LeRae representing Raw and SmackDown against Zaya Brookside from TNA. The winner of that fights the winner of, is it Fabi Apache or Fabi Apache from AAA? Fabi Apache from AAA against Lainey Reed from NXT. So I'm kind of assuming that it's going to be Candice versus Apache, and then the winner goes on to fight Sol Ruca at No Mercy.
It'll be Candice.
You think it'll just be Candice?
It'll be Candice unless they want to get some Zaya Brookside on there. Either way, the title match is like 5 minutes. So,
yeah.
You know.
And I think like the other matches are 3 minutes?
Yes. Yeah, have you never watched Speed? Genuine question. Not being funny.
Haven't seen a single episode.
Yeah, they're just 3-minute matches. Like, I actually think this is a great move. You're going to get short burst, good matches. They'll be on TV now. It's fine. Like, great way to use other people.
If it doesn't work, they get rid of it. If it does work, sure. I'm not opposed to them trying it out. And NXT is like a good spot to be able to do that, because NXT is like the hub where if you're on Raw or SmackDown, you could pop up on NXT at any time. If you're on Evolve, you could be on NXT at any time. If you're on LFG, you could be on NXT anytime. If you're on TNA, you could be on NXT at any time. That's the one roster in the entire landscape of pro wrestling where at any moment, almost anybody could be a part of there, outside of if you're like, in AEW, then you're not going to show up there. But you're never going to get a WWE person on some other kind of show unless it's Natty, because they just told Natty to go fuck off. Or,
They need to stop doing that, by the way. She deserves a little better.
I feel bad for Natty, yeah. So that was a pretty straightforward episode of NXT for the most part. They just sort of kind of carried on what they were doing with some other stories. And now we know Ricky Sainz is going to fight Obafemi, blah, blah, blah. Dynamite then started off, and we now know that FTR and Cope and Cage are going to have their match at All Out in Toronto. Not a single shocked face around here, I'm assuming, because we were all talking
this
about...
This should still be for the tag titles to me. But yeah, this will be fucking great.
Well, I do want to give an opportunity for us to go back and talk about Forbidden Door, so let's keep that in mind too. How do you guys feel about this whole Brodito winning the belts instead thing? Let's factor that in too.
Legitimately, only because of this story, I was upset. But Brodito's a great tag team. Brodito will have fun tag matches, and I like that. But just let them win the titles in Toronto. Let them have a quick little run, but I really thought that was cut and dry. But I guess, hey, if you can get the buzz of the match without the titles and then put the titles in a banger with like the Young Bucks or, two members of the Don Callis family or Jet Speed, go right ahead.
I think it was an interesting and effective move to make. I mean, they went around the houses with it because they had to have the Hurt Syndicate lose without, losing. Like, it had to be taken out of the match. But yeah, I think going with Brodito is an interesting choice. It's like unexpected, but they've been really, really good since forming like a couple of months ago and were great in the tournament. So yeah, I'm one of those people that just don't think that you need Cope and Christian to win the tag titles, because I mean they're as made as a team and as like just individuals as you possibly can be in AEW. So just you essentially you'd be making them tag champions just so you could say they were tag champions in AEW, which I don't think you necessarily need to do, because they've both been champions already in AEW, so you've already got their legacies in the company somewhere already. And I do maybe personally recall someone in the podcast saying that they wanted to take the tag titles off of Brodito and give it to someone interesting and fun to have matches with. So, and they've done that now. But then that same person also wants it to give it to someone who wouldn't have fun and interesting matches with the tag titles, and it would just be there for vibes. So,
I did say that I like that they're gonna have fun matches with the tag titles. I still love that they're gonna have fun matches with the tag titles. I just thought Edge and Christian winning in Toronto made a lot of sense.
I think they'll just win a match against FTR in Toronto, and that's all they need to do. That means you get a tag team match with those two, which is going to be over because of the feud they've built up, and then you also get to have a fun tag title match with Brodito against, it's like another fun team, whether it's the Young Bucks, whether it's do something with Jet Speed or something on those lines, because it could just be like a babyface versus babyface match, depending on who they manage to put together for it. But I mean, they're definitely doing stuff with Don Callis family in terms of them taking over and them being kind of the new Death Riders of the promotion in terms of like top heel stable. So they could definitely have one of their teams win the tag titles instead. But it's it's good to have a more fun, dynamic team running it after the Hurt Syndicate.
I am personally just hoping for the dream match of you get the belts on the Young Bucks somehow, and then the Young Bucks can fight CNC at Homecoming or Title Tuesday, just so I can say I was there for the Young Bucks versus Edge and Christian. Other than that, this should be fun. Brodito is great. I like Bandito a lot. I think Brody is running with the ball he's been given, and it was a nice surprise. It was just one of those things that jarred me because it felt like I was so sure of where it was going that it was shocking when they went the other way.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that it was like, okay, well, either Hurt Syndicate retains somehow or Brodito takes the pin from, like it's just like who's gonna pin one of Brody, King, or Bandito as opposed to them winning. So I was pretty shocked about that.
I will say CNC unfortunate tag team though.
But okay.
Yeah. Right. When he said that, he's like, in CNC, whatever, the first thing that I thought was, oh shit, that's just like, I get where they're going, but it sounds like something that would be like, you got to call them up because you have a plumbing issue, or like,
you don't know what that CNC stands for.
CNC is an unfortunate name, but I'll say this.
Oh wait, is there like another annotation that over my head?
You say your things before I describe what it is.
The Christian Cage has agreed consensually to team with Adam Copeland, but he's not the happiest about it. So maybe there is a little CNC going on. All right.
All right. You gotta fill me in on something. I'm missing something here.
in the fan, yeah. Yeah, but you gotta say that you're allowing us to do that. But no, it's a CNC in the kind of fan fiction community stands for consensual non-consent, which essentially means it's I don't know what I can get away with saying on YouTube these days, but it's it's agreeing to do stuff in a way that you're not actually like wouldn't accept it. It's almost like you're playing into the fantasy of saying no, but you really want it. That kind of thing.
So is that CNC?
Yeah, CNC.
Okay, because I was like, all right, CNC, like C ampersand.
No, they're CNC.
No, they're CNC.
So okay, so that all right, I wouldn't have gotten that anyway. I still wouldn't have known that that's a term.
Where's Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, she probably would have been able to tell me. Because even that, like I was just like, okay, maybe I'm missing something. CNC slang, and I'm like, it's just Command and Conquer. I don't see what the problem is there. And then the first thing that comes up under CNC is computer numerical control, and I'm like, that's the fucking problem with computer numerical control.
This is why you always need to search stuff through Urban Dictionary. That's the kind of legitimate language of these.
Yeah, that's what you do. You go straight to Urban Dictionary.
That's the one that says Command and Conquer, because I was doing the ampersand.
Okay. Well, that's a you problem.
Yeah. Although the fourth thing that comes up now that I'm scrolling down, the fourth thing that comes up on Urban Dictionary for C and C is the act of eating Cheerios with something else that starts with the C. So,
okay.
I think the point is you're all fucked up.
Creamy.
Creamy indeed.
That's a different form of honey nut Cheerio. I'm not gonna top that joke the rest of this podcast, but Edge and Christian wasn't a great tag team name either.
He might be edging Christian, but that might also be potential.
I did like the promo at the beginning of the episode where they did this whole challenge and everything, where he was just like, I said I was gonna help out Adam with his problem, whatever. Now, Dax, I hear that you have a father. And it's just like, oh shit, they're gonna bring back the father thing for that. I didn't think that they'd pull that out here. He's dead. The Christian father stuff is so fucking funny. And I don't know, maybe there's some kind of daddy thing happening there too, with all these weird terms that you kids are up to these days with their CNCs and your PCPs. I don't know. That match is confirmed for All Out. One that isn't confirmed is yet again another challenge from Darby Allin, where he wrote in the blood of his ear All Out, and Moxley turned it down again. Wheeler Yuta turned it down for him. They did their whole thing back and forth, whatever. So we still don't know what they're going to do for All Out, but they obviously, at some point, Darby Allin's going to fight Jon Moxley. It's going to be some kind of death match or coffin match or whatever it might be. Darby Allin, fun character. Yeah, dude gets fucking launched whenever they do something like with Claudio. He gets the shit beaten out of him. I don't know how he's able to take as much damage as he does, but if you can do it and you can get up, okay, man, be safe. It's fucking fun to watch Darby Allin get tossed around.
That we missed an opportunity to just, when explaining CNC, to just say Darby Allin.
I'm getting tossed.
Darby is so fucking.
Where's Dark State when you need him?
After last night, I'm convinced every generation needs a Darby Allin. Every generation needs a dumbass who's willing to get thrown off things, fly off things, whether it's Foley or Jeff Hardy or Darby Allin. You need this in your wrestling. You need one. You don't need too many, but you need this, because that table toss was fucking awesome.
I mean, yeah,
launched them.
That was a full-on tribute to the Mike Awesome, Spike Dudley stuff that was happening in the 2300 arena back in ECW days. Yeah, I mean, that's just an awesome spot, and essentially Darby was just throwing himself off every stanchion that he could find as well, just to take down Claudio. Claudio's a perfect match for Darby Allin because it's just a big guy who's the ultimate base in pro wrestling. Claudio's as good a base as you're going to find, and it's just a case of Darby. He can't match up to him physically in any way, so he just has to launch himself at Claudio over and over and over again and hope for the best. And that's just a perfect match made in heaven, really. So yeah, it's,
and they're not,
it was a really fun main event.
That big of a difference in size where you can't justify that Darby Allin can't get his good shots in. They're obviously, Claudio's bigger than him, but it's not like it's Big Show against Rey Mysterio where you're like, all right, fucking come on. He's gonna squash this guy with his hands the size of his fucking head, and then Darby just keeps getting up and then eventually gets the win and then gets beaten down and then runs out. Gabe Kidd attacks him. So we still don't have a confirmation for a match at All Out, but maybe it ends up being Darby Allin versus Gabe Kidd instead, and they stretch out the Moxley thing a little bit more. Maybe Moxley does just reach a point where he just says, fine, fuck it. We're going to have a match, and it's going to be at an electrified, flame-filled ring or something.
I think this has to be the time that they try again with the exploding barbed wire death match. Yeah, they need to redo of that because they can't just allow the legacy just to be that one match for it. Especially because like they put it in the video game and all this other stuff as well. It's like if they're gonna like try and market this in other ventures as well, it's a case of you need to have one good version of this match, or at least one that ends well. And it's one of those situations where because Darby being who he is, he would not mind getting actually blown up in the end of it. So you could literally. Like, you would set up the fireworks and the explosions and everything and say, no, you need to add a few more of that. Put some C4 under the ring as well. Let's go crazy. That kind of attitude to it. So.
Yeah, Darby Allin would probably be like, no, I want this to explode in a way where I actually shoot up into the atmosphere because I do still want to go into space.
Yeah, like Wile Coyote style and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Acme presents, so then you can just get the sponsorships that WWE tends to do. I mean, Warner Brothers doesn't have...
They have a relationship with Warner Bros.
Yeah, but Warner Bros. Doesn't like the Acme stuff anymore. Remember, they sold that?
That is true.
Although that's supposed to come out, I think, some point later this year.
It's next year.
Oh, it's next year. Okay. Yeah. I'm curious to see that movie. I don't know.
It's going to be really good.
Something about it. I'm not, the hugest Looney Tunes fan in the sense about being like, I watched it myself as a kid. Eventually, when I reached a point where I realized that every single episode, no matter who the character was exactly the same. It's just one character chases another one, and that's it. Then I kind of lost interest. They got fucking decades out of that. They were like, this one's a rabbit, and he gets chased by a hunter, and this one's a duck, and it gets chased by a hunter, and this one's a mouse and it gets chased by, it's just the same thing. But it seems like a fun idea, this Acme movie with John Cena.
Yeah, I think we're getting Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch. And I dare say it might feature the return of Eddie Kingston. Even as like an enforcer or something.
He comes out and tries to cover Moxley or Darby, like he did the first. That's kind of his role, is to be the guy that covers another guy.
He tries to cover Moxley, but this time Darby just blows them both up.
And then Kingston gets written off TV again. I kind of want it to a certain extent to just be a coffin match, because I think that gives Darby Allin another win, and like, okay, that's his gimmick. And then if you want to write off Moxley, depending on, maybe they don't want to write him off and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but like if he were to take some time off, you can have him written off through the coffin angle. He's not quite Undertaker, where you don't do the Moxley is a hologram floating into the ceiling kind of thing. But
why not?
I mean, he could. He's the Death Rider, so maybe he,
there you go.
Does something like that.
I think people need to get off the train of Moxley's going to take time off, because it just isn't going to happen. Like he just won't. He will refuse to happen at any point in time. Like, let's say he's wrestling more now than has been at any point probably in his AEW run. He's wrestling almost every week on Dynamite now, and let's say everything about the Death Rider thing has kind of turned around a little bit in the last few months, since like the Hangman stuff getting involved. It's been like they now feel like the big bad that they should have been several months ago.
I'd imagine Moxley taking time off is him being so bored that Renee can't even give him a fork when they eat, because he probably just starts like playing Russian roulette with his hand and doing the whole. Or it's not Russian roulette. It's the what's the name of that
fucking game?
Yeah, the stabby game, because Russian roulette's the gun thing. Which, God forbid, please don't do that, Moxley. But like the knife thing where you try to like see if you can not hit your fingers. Like I could see him just sitting there doing that. And it's like, come on, John, at the table, like eat your.
The baby is right here, John. Like
eat your pasta. You're not allowed. It's when you give like little kids those like plastic forks or something, like. All right, today we're gonna eat our steak, but John has to eat it with his hands and just rip it apart because he's not allowed to have a fork and a knife. He's just going to start stabbing himself. But, the Darby Allin stuff, the Moxley stuff, I am excited to see them beat the living shit out of each other in one way or another. MJF clarified again a little bit more about the idea that he does have to have this Casino Gauntlet contract executed a week in advance. I know that Callum's a big fan of that.
Yep. Like, no cash-in bullshit. This needs to be, plan it in advance. Like, you can do an angle where Hangman gets hurt one week and then MJF decides to call it out, and so Hangman has to wrestle her, and then you can even change the titles there, and that works totally fine. But no Money in the Bank cash-in bullshit. Leave that. I'd say it's not even a case of saying that Money in the Bank cash-in is bad. It's just don't do what WWE do. Do your own thing.
So I do hope that, okay, they have to be at least a week in advance, right? Not like they have to be, like, you're only going to find out
at least a week's notice, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because that way you can still do fun. Like, I'm going to cash in at Grand Slam in New York City or whatever.
Yeah, you can call it well past 7 days, but it has to at least be a 7-day window. That's what, at least what they seem to be kind of saying. They could always, wrestling changes its own rules. Yeah, look at case in point at the beginning of this whole thing. Hey, I know that I counted the wrong person, but the title change stands as it is. Yet at the same time, I counted 3, and I just didn't say ring the bell at the pay-per-view, and then that's perfectly fine. That 10 minutes later, I wake up and I go, no, he must have had his foot on the. It's pro wrestling. It's all fucking dumb.
I hated that ending so much. I fucking hated that ending so much. Terrible.
It's just way too overlooked, and it's always the issue when it comes to MJF in particular in main events scenes. He just has to overdo things so much. He has to think of new ways or old ways potentially that you can generate heat and make matches a bit more, old school than what they currently are. Which is like what they want to do. Is they want to see you guys just have matches, like great matches, which is what the match was. Like the first, like not 80-90% of that match was absolutely fantastic between those two because they do have great chemistry with each other. But then he has to just sully it at the end with all of this stuff. Like if you do 1 or 2 of the things, like if you do the foot on the rope spot and the referee misses it this time, but then notices straight after and reverses the decision before they ring the bell and before Max has a chance to do it. You don't need to have Mark Briscoe come out for like 30 seconds, just stand on the stage for 30 seconds and get dragged away to cause the distraction, which means the referee sees the foot on the ropes when, logically dictate that Hangman just puts his foot on the ropes like minutes after getting pinned and the referee just knows it. So, he got his foot on the rope, but say it was just a massive logic gap involved in it, and they could have just had a great match with Max doing his usual cheating stick and have Hangman retain. It wouldn't have hurt things. It just made things more awkward than what they previously were.
So some of the other, I don't want to lose track of giving you an opportunity to talk about your experience at Forbidden Door. Obviously, some of these things we don't need to break down on Dynamite. Like Harley Cameron and Chris Statlander beat Mega Bad, and then more fighting and stuff. But what were some pros, some cons? How was Forbidden Door in person?
So it was overall a fun show to be part of. I did say that I feel it was a bit long, but that's what AEW shows are. And also it's the experience of just having to travel there. So I'd been traveling from, I don't know, left my house around about 12:30, 1ish. Didn't get home until half midnight. So I was out for a while to deal with all this stuff. So, but the most annoying experience was during the pre-show, just people trying to find their seats next to me. It's just look at the letters on the ground. What the row is. It's plainly pointed out to you. You don't have to it bewilders me how people just end up in the wrong seat. And then other people come up to them and say, "Oh, you're in my seat." And then you have to change everything and everyone gets so confused and angry about it. So it's have to deal with that for the entirety of the pre-show, so I didn't get to enjoy much of what was going on. But
never underestimate the complete stupidity of people where, I mean, I can't stand it in New York, the amount of times that I'm walking on a street and somebody literally stops walking and then starts looking around, and it's like, motherfucker, there's literally people behind you that we just bumped into. Do you not see that there's there is a world around your bubble of your own shit? And you go to the movies and you pay for that seat the same kind of way, and like you said, if People are like, it says I'm E11 and I'm in row F. Like, do you know the fucking letters?
The alphabet, yeah. Do your alphabet quickly. Like,
based off of the way that I pick out the grammar of other people. Clearly the answer is no. People do not know the alphabet.
Well, but we felt like pretty much all the matches were good to great. Like, I don't think there was a bad match on the entire show. I really liked just some things just enjoyable to see live. Like, it was good to see Michael Oku have a match because he's such a pillar of British wrestling these days. And even though he lost, it's like, yeah, he loses to Ricochet. Ricochet's a pushed commodity. I really like the Triangle of Madness entrance, like live, like their entrance, just actually seeing the Titantrons, because it looks like it's not just like, you know, nowadays, or even with like AEW in the past, it used to just be, you know, names on the screen and just things going on. But now, like they're full blown productions. These Titantrons, and especially the Triangle of Madness one really stood out. I just want to say this about Copeland after the match between like Copeland and Cage against Killswitch and Kip Sabian, and I can't really unsee it now that he's AEW's equivalent to Jey Uso with a better spear. Like, he's purely an entrance. Everyone just sings the entrance and enjoys that for a while, and then he just vibes in the ring, and he hits a better spear than Jey Uso. But then other than that, it's literally, that's just what Copeland is these days. is vibes guy. And you know, you need a vibes guy. Like, Jey Uso's fine as vibes guy. You just don't make that guy your world champion. But
well, we're not gonna have that problem with Copeland.
No, definitely. Fletcher Hiromu was great. Like, definitely over delivered from what I think people were expecting from it. I loved the women's Fatal 4-Way match. I thought that was a lot of fun, and they put that together really well. I thought Bozilla was fantastic in that match, and is already I've already drawn a circle around her saying, "Oh yeah, that's the person that WWE is going to try and sign after Forbidden Door this year." Just go after Bozilla.
Somebody, because Tony Khan is a huge fan, so yeah. She's going to be signed.
The issue being is, like, it's one of those things that, yes, she will be signed by one of the top two, but she's still, you know, she was very talented in that match and she showed a lot of potential, but she's still raw and she's still very
young too.
New.
She's like 21.
Yeah, she's very new in this business still. And so I would like her to just continue to do stuff in Stardom for a while to help build up. And she's only just signed with Stardom. She only joined in like June. That was when she made her debut. So I'd like her to get like a year or two doing that sort of stuff, and that could be a case of like Tony Khan just signs her and just keeps her in Stardom for 2 years. I mean, they signed Megan Bain ages ago, and it's like kept her, and she just kept in Stardom and doing indie stuff for a while before she came in. So it's like, so if they do that, then I'm totally fine with that route taking place and making sure that she's getting paid well while still developing on the kind of like the second tier below the top companies. But yeah, I thought that match was really fun. Zack versus Nigel, a lot of fun as well, as you'd expect between those two. And they teased the Garcia turn, but then didn't do it. So, you know, that was a fun experience to watch live. We've already talked about the tag title match, which is a really good match. I think that over-delivered as well. I really liked Okada and Swerve because of how they fit the knee injury into it. And it wasn't like they didn't build the whole match around the knee, but it was just in moments they went, like, had, you know, when Swerve went over the top rope for the cannon from the catapult and landed on his leg and just tweaked it a little bit. And then they just built into that before. And the only real big spot they did with the knee until the end, where they had like Okada like attacking him with the steel chair, was like him dropping Swerve on his knee on the top turnbuckle. But that was basically it, because Okada doesn't really do much like leg work as a general rule. So, but I'd say that was good. And Wardlow's return was shocking. I don't think anyone expected Wardlow to show up,
especially not in that spot.
Yeah, exactly. And him just being part of the Don Callis family, which now just like feels like half the roster. It definitely feels like an NWO style force now, but they'll at least lose Takeshita at some point soon, because that was obvious from that and what happened on Dynamite in their in the All-Star 8-man tag. Like, he's obviously the guy that will break out as a babyface, which is important because of Ospreay and Swerve and everything surrounding that. Storm vs. Athena was good. I don't think it was as great as I was expecting it to be, but I think it was still a very good match. I think Athena performed really well, and Tony just did Tony stuff, but that's what you expect. I said to Rob and messaged you guys about it, I thought it was the right decision, but that's
You were
not
the only person I've seen say that so far.
Well, see, I'm totally fine with people's argument that they've tied these women's championships into 3 people that just aren't losing these titles at any point, and it feels very there's a burgeoning group of people, like you saw it in the 8-woman tag match, that there's a bunch of people that are ready to break into that main event scene, and they want to have that opportunity, but they've tied. The TBS title's been on Mercedes for over a year. Tony Storm's held this title for 7 months, and Athena's held the Ring of Honor Women's title for nearly 1,000 days now.
She's so just shy of it.
Yeah, she's just shy of it. And it's a case of, now there's no kind of upper momentum if you're just going to keep the titles on the same people over and over again. But Tony Storm, it's a case of she's held the title for the majority of the last year, because it's been Mariah May and then her, and then before that it was Tony Storm on a really long run with the title as well. So I understand people's frustration with Tony Storm being on top, but it's a case of, I just don't think Athena was the right choice to win the title. It was because you're just giving that title to another person that's already holding a title for 1,000 days, and it's like if you're going to do mobility upwards, then do it with someone actually new. I know Athena's kind of new because she's been on Ring of Honor rather than on AEW TV, but I don't think she's the right person to hold it at the same time she's holding the Ring of Honor women's title. I'd say I was the biggest advocate of anybody that Tony Storm should have lost to Megan Bayne at Double or Nothing. And I still stand by that they should have done that, but they wanted to do the Tony Storm Mercedes match at All In, and so you can't do that with Megan Bayne as your champion, because otherwise you'd have to do it for the TBS title, and I just don't think it would have felt as big. I do think they're heating Megan Bayne up to win that title back, because she, as I say, I think that's still her only loss is to Tony Storm. And I think Megan Bayne is the right choice to win the title. Either that or Tekla. I think either one of those two is the right choice to win the title next, and then transition that on to either a Chris Statlander or Willow Nightingale, that type of person. Doubtless it'll be Mercedes that wins it, but still, that's but we'll just wait and see. But yeah, I just didn't think. I thought it was the right choice to have Tony win in this particular instance. And then we told you about the main event, the actual main event, and then the lights out match was just, so much fun. The gummy bears, the interactions between the Golden Lovers and the Young Bucks was fun as well. Then coming out to Bop was funny. Yeah, it was just a perfect mix of those really funny stuff and just serious violence. Like the stuff with the Darby Allin, you should have seen people around me just how they were just wincing in their seats and just moving around to try and not see the screen about how just disgusting that is. I don't know when ear spots became a thing, or when they became because you saw the Jeff Hardy thing with Randy Orton a couple of years back, why that became such a big thing. But as I say, it was cool for the sadists out there. Tanahashi climbing a ladder, saying that he's going to jump on, and just trying to protect his knees as well. The closing spot with Ospreay was obvious to see from a mile away, even though the babyfaces did look a little stupid by not climbing the cage. I can understand it because they had the heels on the other side trying to hit them, trying to block them with chairs and stuff. So yeah, right enough. I guess it's the one thing out of this show is that it kind of set things in motion in terms of Don Callis family are now in the ascendant, the top heel group, while Death Riders is still kind of just lingering around and still doing, big bad stuff. But you can clearly see the upward trajectory of the Don Callis family. And also, this is probably the last time we'll see Swerve and Ospreay for a while. Maybe less so for Swerve, but definitely for Ospreay for a while. So now it's time to start moving people up towards the main event scene and the babyface side. And that's probably a big motivator behind the Takeshita will eventually be a slow burn babyface turn. So, but yeah, overall, it was a really fun experience to be part of.
Yeah, I even as you described it there, I'm I thought it was a solid show. I thought it was no different than their normal solid shows. And I saw a lot of people be like, "Oh, rare AEW miss," and I'm like, "Are we watching the same shows?" And it wasn't even this one, but it's are we watching the same shows every other time? Because this was like par for the course, except for the big cluster main event, which maybe you can argue people would have been happier if some of that talent was staggered out across the card. But like, I thought this show was just as fun as any show this company's put on. And I didn't love all the booking decisions. Like, I would have had Athena win and, stuff like that. But I thought it was really fun.
So backtracking a little bit then again to the other things from Dynamite that kind of like fell off of that. I didn't like that Mercedes Moné championship celebration thing. I thought that was so pointless. It's another example of just like, we got nothing for you, so can you just remind people that things are happening and then we'll just do something next week. It was, hey everybody, I have these belts. Remember how I have those belts? Anyway, Alex Windsor. See ya. Dance, 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 leave. Like, fuck that segment.
My favorite segment was Wheeler Yuta getting mic time. That was different. And yeah, I thought it was fun. He showed personality for the first time in his career in AEW. And it seemed like he was, for 2 seconds, I'm going, oh, Brian's going to wrestle in Toronto. Because he's like, I slayed the dragon, I took his place, haha. And then out comes Hook. And it's like, oh shit. Of course, Hook would return in the ECW arena, put the Taz mission or the Red Rum on Hook. I still want to get to Wheeler and Brian, but maybe Hook is a stopgap.
Is there something with Hook's theme that I don't know? That like, oh, it's a reference to like his dad used to use that theme or something like that? Because his new theme is weird to me.
Well, it was the song they were playing in the vignettes. Whether or not he goes back to Action Bronson after this remains to be seen. But can you see Taz walking out to that? First of all, I think the song came out in like 2018. But second of all, can you see Taz walking out to something that sounds like Sinatra-y?
I can't.
That's not what Taz does. No. I think it's just somebody really likes the fact that he's handsome and was like, you should come out to this. Because it's like, tell the girls I'm back in town. I feel like somebody was just like, hey, Hook, you're a really good-looking kid. Come out to this.
Maybe. I don't know. It threw me off so much they continued to use it.
Was actually the rights for the Action Bronson song expired. And apparently there was some heat with Bronson because he took some shots about the AEW backstage environment that some people took exception to. So essentially, that's that, and
it's
go
such a
something else.
Good song. It's such a good song for him. Like, that sucks.
So maybe the new one will grow on people as well. It just take a bit of time.
A lot of Don Callis stuff. A lot of it just like, all-star 8-man tag things or to match. Don Callis family wins.
It's like they set up more stuff. Like the purpose of the match was to set up more stuff between
Rodito
Okada and Bandito and Hechicera obviously, but then also Okada and Takeshita, because they did the spots like the running, like the train in the corner essentially of like you get Josh Alexander hits and then Hechicera hits and then Takeshita hits, but then as Okada's coming in, Takeshita pulls him out of the way and does his own thing instead. So it's like, okay, they're continuing to set that in motion. It's just, little elements of storytelling. It was quite interesting though, they had Alexander get a pin as well, because he obviously seems like the kind of token whipping boy of the, the upper level heels. Obviously, you have your Lance Archers and Roppongi, Vice, the kind of your lower level jobber types in the group, but then Josh Alexander's kind of the jobber of the stars almost type. And so for him to get the win was a nice touch.
You got to start doing stuff like that so that way he can like build his way back up. Because like you said, like he is kind of falling into that. Maybe he's the guy that gets pinned territory quite often. And obviously some of the stuff needed to set up some things from ROH, which that'll be our next topic to switch over. But, it's good to see him get a little win here and there and kind of rehab the losses and the lack of big wins that he's gotten. Because he's somebody that like I'm not like going to be like, oh, Josh Alexander should be the next big thing and everybody should just give him a whole bunch of titles and stuff like that. But like, if you had Josh Alexander have the ROH championship, I wouldn't be shocked. It seems like that would fit. I guess that actually is a good enough transition. It's, you know, I am not watching ROH. I don't know if I'm missing elements of this, you know, preface the way that I always preface that stuff. But to me, Hechicero does not give me the vibe of like, he will beat Bandito and win the ROH World Championship.
So I think he might beat Bandito, but only not because of anything they've done in Ring of Honor, because they, to the best of my knowledge, Hechicero came out when Bandito beat Takeshita. They had a stare down. They did a cool vignette where it was like the last shootout, and they said, "Here's your match. Have fun." And I'm okay with that. But I also think Hechicero might win because I think Bandito might just spend more time on the AEW side of things. And it gives Don Callis another belt. He's got the unified belt, the G1 winner, the TNT belt, and the Ring of Honor World Champion if Hechicero wins. And then he can just sort of have fun on Ring of Honor for a little bit. That's my guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's like out of the question that that Bandito retains here. I think it's more likely because he's just on such a great run at the moment. He's having like great matches both on AEW and Ring of Honor. So I don't think I would necessarily make the change, but Hechicero is a very good option if you do decide to switch it. As I say, he's part of the Don Callis family, so that adds a bit more prestige to them to have the Ring of Honor champion as part of them. But I think they probably have. I would say it's probably more likely that Josh Alexander would be the one to win it, and maybe this is just a starting point, and then you have Bandito against Josh Alexander down the road. I don't know. Josh Alexander just feels a bit more like a Ring of Honor champion than Hechicero does.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm approaching that. Like, I really could see that being the future. Is like, all right, he beats Hechicero, but the Don Callis family stuff continues. And then at maybe at All Out, you know, maybe that's when like a Josh Alexander can beat like a Bandito or something like that. But I think that would be a really good fit for him. He strikes me as a very Ring of Honor type of guy, Alexander. And I love the Yo Soy Hechicero thing, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that on any other podcast. I think that's fucking so great.
Stupid. He's on a run right now where he's doing classic Bobby Heenan. Mm-hmm. He's got a stable of guys
called the
that
family.
have nothing in common. They have nothing in common outside of Don Callis.
Yeah.
And it works because you can just throw him in with anybody, and Don Callis is such a prick that it's going to get heat.
And you explain it by he signed them to a contract. He gets a portion of the money that they do because he helps them. And they are a bunch of assholes that like to have more people involved in their matches and that they can use his influence to get booked in matches or whatever. It makes perfect sense. It's exactly why the Bobby Heenan family was so fucking good of a stable, even if it was just a bunch of random ass dudes. It's a formula that works super well that for some reason they can't quite seem to get in WWE anymore, because then they wrap themselves into this like, okay, but we can't do that. We have to have a definitive number one leader that has to be the guy that we push, and then the other people we can't give wins to, and then, you know, like that kind of weird obsession that WWE has with tiers and hierarchies. Poor Bronson Reed, poor Braun Breaker. I have no idea who is fighting Lou Moriarty for the ROH Pure Championship. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Xelhua? Zelhua? I don't know.
Well, Zelhua, look at that. Lee Moriarty retains.
Yeah. He's a CMLL guy.
I assume so.
Yeah, he's a CMLL guy. From what I've not watched any of the matches yet, but I'm actually like excited from what I've seen of people describe of him, because apparently he has he's only 21 now, so he's still like a very young up and coming wrestler. But apparently he's very akin in terms of his style to a Bryan Danielson or Zack Sabre Jr. Like he's a hold-based wrestler. He's not a typical high-flying luchador. He is a technical mat-based wrestler, more like a Hechicero than a Mascara Dorada or Mystico, that type of luchador. So he definitely fits into the pure. Yeah, he fits into the pure rules dynamic. So yeah, I think the pure rules matches are a good chance to see someone's like fundamentals and see how good they are able to do just the pure technical wrestling side of things. So I'm actually quite excited to see how he matches up with Lee Moriarty, even if the result is pretty much like there's no doubt. But then again, they have had like Atlantis Jr. win the Ring of Honor TV titles. They're not against the idea of guys from CMLL winning Ring of Honor titles.
Yeah, but I think, given the new announcements today, that Shane Taylor Promotions, Shane Taylor, Carly Bravo, and Sean Dean will be taking on the Sons of Texas with Sammy Guevara filling in for Dustin Rhodes, I think it's time to just strap up STP and let them have fun. They're doing a lot of work in Ring of Honor, and I think they deserve some rewards. I would also say the same for the Outrunners. I think it's time to strap up the Outrunners and just let them be the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. They'll be fighting Sammy Guevara and a partner of Sammy's choosing. So, we will find out who that is tomorrow night. But I would venture a big guess that it's not Jake Hager. And I would assume that Sammy loses.
So what's happening with Shane Taylor Promotions?
They're challenging Sammy and the Von Erichs for the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag titles.
On tonight's ROH or on the pay-per-view?
Tomorrow night. The pay-per-view.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. There's not that match.
Yeah, Tony, they literally just announced it. That's why I said with what.
It just happened right now.
Like Tony announced that when he announced the tag match with Sammy and a mystery partner.
Oh well, they put the tag match with the mystery partner on Wikipedia, but they haven't put the trios match on Wikipedia.
Oh, maybe that slipped through because the Von Erichs being the known partners is exciting than the mystery partner idea.
Maybe. So Sammy's going to wrestle twice.
Yeah, Sammy's wrestling twice.
All right, so he should realistically drop one of those belts, but at the same time, if they don't want to have those belts go elsewhere, then it could just be like, wow, what a great, Sammy Guevara wrestled twice and he retained both times type thing.
No,
the interesting is like, yeah. Well, the interesting thing is like he's fighting Shane Taylor Promotions, then that's obviously a heel group, and he's teamed with the Von Erichs, and like that means they'll be wrestling as a babyface there. But if you're wrestling the Outrunners, you're a heel by default, pretty much. So it'd be interesting to see who he picks as his partner, because there's no one that immediately stands out to me as that would definitely be my choice for it. I'm not going to entertain the thoughts of Chris Jericho, because it's just like he comes back for his big return. His big return is a tag match on a Ring of Honor show. Like,
I don't think it's Jericho personally.
Yeah, so I'm not going to entertain those thoughts. So I don't know of anybody else in particular that he's like affiliated with or particularly close to. Like, he's not going to make Ty his tag partner, but that would be fun.
Well, I think maybe he's in a bind and he needs to bribe some people with some double chunk chocolate cookies. Yeah, Big Justice. Or not Big. What's his name? Big Boom AJ. Let's go.
I think. So because of the fact that it is the Outrunners that they're fighting, it needs to be a heel, or it needs to be someone who could be on the verge of turning heel, or someone that Sammy could turn heel on, because he clearly is turning heel, because he's already said.
Well, yeah, you turn heel on Big Boom AJ. Like,
yeah, you could do that, yeah. So, but it just feels like weird to have them against him against the Outrunners. Like, I think it needs to be someone who is liked, but not like absolutely beloved like AJ kind of is by the crowd. Yeah, so there's the obvious choice would have been like Fuego del Sol if he was still there, but he's not. So, Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It might even be just someone like from outside, or it might be someone from CMLL. I mean, he's got like a background from like Mexico and stuff like that as well. So maybe it's someone like an Atlantis Junior or Blue Panther Junior, or even just the real Blue Panther. Who knows?
Maybe Danny, like maybe a Danny Garcia.
Mm.
You can pivot them into a rivalry against one another. Even though I think Danny might be going towards the Death Riders.
Yeah. We got like Nigel Guinness could maybe do something as well, because like he's done stuff with Ring of Honor in the recent past. So yes, like there's plenty of options. Jay Lethal. It's always be good to have him on a Ring of Honor show.
Black Machismo. The Outrunners. That kind of I feel like that would fit.
Without being aware of like, hey, they set this up on some ROH TV show and stuff like that. I kind of just assume in scenarios like this, based off of the way that a lot of other AEW things have gone down, that it'll just be like, isn't this great? Somebody from CMLL gets thrown in there. Or like, don't you really like guy blank from the Indies or New Japan, or like one of those, like, we don't want to announce that this person's showing up because they're somebody that doesn't make a whole lot of sense and there's no real story to it, but hey, cool, that guy goes and wrestles. But then again, maybe there's like some story elements to it that I'm just completely oblivious to, and I have no ability to judge that. So yeah, I defer on those. But you brought up the idea about Big Boom AJ. There's a different celebrity that's wrestling on this, and that's Paul Walter Hauser in a fight without honor against QT Marshall. For anybody who doesn't know Paul Walter Hauser, he has been getting a lot more into pro wrestling, but he is primarily an actor who had been in quite a bit of different things here and there, and he's been good in everything that I've seen him in. He was in Fantastic Four recently. Nice. He was playing Mole Man. I thought he was a good Mole Man. He's in The Naked Gun. I didn't see it yet, but he plays one of the main cops there. He was in Cobra Kai. He was Stingray in there. Good little recurring role here and there. His like big breakout role was Richard Jewell in the whole story of the Olympics and the bombing that had happened and all. So he's a good actor, and I haven't seen any of his like wrestling stuff to really know too much about what's happening there. But based off of him in like I, Tonya, like he was great in I, Tonya too. He is an interesting enough character, and if he's been getting a lot more into pro wrestling lately, I'm curious to see that more than anything else, to be honest. And I'm assuming that they should just give him the win, because why not? It's QT Marshall. Who gives a shit if he loses?
He definitely doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of his MO, really. Yeah, Paul Hauser will get the victory. I'm surprised they're not doing this for the if he's going to win, they might as well do this for the Progress Proteus title that he holds. He's a wrestling champion, Paul Hauser.
Damn right he is. I'm sure he'll eventually be like an MLW world champion because he does stuff with them too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why they wouldn't just make it a title match. So maybe he's losing. Maybe that's why they can't make it a title match, because like QT Marshall is going to get a win for Heat and use that to springboard his career. But no, I imagine you'll just have.
Is that one of those acne springboards? I can't see QT Marshall going too far up anywhere.
No, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it will likely be get the celebrity a victory, and yeah, as I say, fight without honor. I'm sure they'll make it like like fun in a bit of a cheesy way. I imagine instead of, I know they already did the gummy bear spot in the Forbidden Door match, but maybe they do something like, instead of like thumbtacks, it's Lego pieces or something along those lines.
Or maybe it's a fight without honor because they want to have like some interference from some people, do some kind of angle.
The inevitable Aaron Solo appearance.
Well, yes, we will see Aaron Solo. We might hear for the first time since All Out 2023 the phrase "it's Cloudburn time." Maybe we get something in AEW, huh? Get some Fantastic Four, get some Pedro Pascal, huh?
Get something.
That'd be a hell of
Jake something.
It's popping up. That'd be hell of a coup if they get Pedro Pascal to appear in your
Can you
Ring of
imagine
Honor
getting
show.
Pedro Pascal and you show up at Ring of Honor, not your main brand?
That would be very, very strange. Just
Like,
Hey, as long as he doesn't go near any of the women in the audience, it's fine. It's alright. He's got anxiety.
Yeah, he's anxiety. The other match, as far as at least Wikipedia, maybe they announced some other things they didn't update. The only other thing that I'm aware of is Athena versus Mina Shirakawa, which we talked a little bit about, but it's rounded out there.
Athena's gonna 69 Mina, and I'm gonna watch.
Where's that CNC thing? I am
Athena's
not
a week away
invested.
from 1,000 days.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not invested in this in any capacity. But when I saw that she was at like 993 days or something like that, I'm like, all right, can you just fucking get her to 1,000? Like, I would be annoyed as all hell if that's like she's that close to 1,000 and you just pulled the trigger on switching the title around that. I don't see any benefit that it's like Mina Shirakawa has to be the champion and she has to be the champion right now. Keep it on Athena.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safest bet. I mean, you just have, you have the titles stay where it is for now because, as I say, she's very close to that milestone. She gets to have a big celebration, probably on Ring of Honor TV the week afterwards, to celebrate her victory, and that's when you bring out whoever the person that will beat her at Final Battle is.
Billy Starks Part 3, baby.
I think it'll be Shiori that beats her for the title.
She's injured, baby.
But she won't be injured forever. So
maybe
keep it going. Like,
well, Shirakawa right now is the interim Women's World Television Championship, right?
Yeah.
She's holding that until whenever Red Velvet's back, because I guess you can't just take the belt off of Red Velvet. Why?
Because she's injured.
Because they like the interim champion thing, and I'd say I don't mind it. I think it's something that can work in the right circumstances.
So to me, that's like, okay, even more so. Shirakawa losing, she's not losing and then looking like a complete fucking loser, unless they like job her out, which like they're not going to do. They're not going to have Athena beat her in fucking 10 seconds. But she walks out and she's still holding a championship that she can defend, and then eventually they do the Red Velvet thing or something. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
Interesting if Tony Storm's out there with Mina for this one, or whether they decide to just go like just 1-on-1, because obviously Billy will be out there to support Athena, so maybe they bring Tony out there to be the second for Mina.
You guys think this is going to main event?
No, I think Hechicero Bandito will.
I think there's a good chance this main event just because of the stature of the 1,000 days.
It could for sure.
Because you got to add an element of jeopardy to it. Like if you put it in the main event, it feels like there's more jeopardy that she might not make that number. And I think Mina, just as a personal thing, this is the case. I think Athena and Mina are both more over than Bandito and Hechicero. So I would be surprised to see that main event.
Well, we will have some coverage stuff put out there about ROH. I said before, I'm not planning on doing a post show for that, just because I don't think that anybody's really going to click on it. But if there is some kind of a groundswell of support, then you got a little bit of time to sort that out before that ends up taking place tomorrow. SmackDown is not happening at its normal time if you want to check out the early stuff on Netflix, because it's technically going to air at the USA Network on the 8 p.m. thing, but they're recording that in advance. They're going to air that internationally on Netflix at like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I forget which one. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing the hot tags a little bit earlier. But I am of that group that I'm going to be watching that at the afternoon and then not again later on. Why the hell would I do that? Although it is a little weird that they did redo the John Cena thing last week. They
refilmed that. That was interesting.
Logan Paul thing. Yeah, they felt the need to do that, even though the difference wasn't that much of a difference. And I think it actually is worse what they redid, because for anybody that didn't see it, last week on the international version of it, Cena is talking to Nick Aldis, and out of nowhere, Logan Paul just punches him and then like runs off. And they redid it to add more bullshit where like for some reason Logan Paul pushes Nick Aldis out of the way and then hits John Cena, which then implies that John Cena was looking right at Logan Paul and then just didn't do anything and just let him punch him. So I think that was really stupid that they did that, but for some reason they felt like they needed to. Maybe we get some other kind of weird redos and, you know, we can laugh at that. But that's currently the game plan. We'll have SmackDown coverage up on smarkoutmoment.com and on eWrestling News and on the Ring Report and all that stuff. You know, stay tuned for all that. Check it all out where it is. Make sure that you are also hitting up the Discord channel that we mentioned before. Make sure you're doing all this marketplace stuff. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave that comment below or whatever it is that you're listening to us on. And then keep in mind, too, the link tree that I've got over at anthonymango.com or amangotree.com. You can find all the links to all of my stuff, all the Smart Out Moment stuff, all the Fanboys Anonymous stuff, and then my own little personal letterboxd and Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot like that. Rob has lost his internet, but you can find Rob at Dude Felice all over the place and check out what he's up to on Fightful and everything. Gallum, pass it over to you.
Hey, good. Yep, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky Weekmeister14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smartcoutmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, or you can head to www.fantasyleague.com to check out the Fantasy League, see how our teams are doing as like points being picked up. There's extra points picked up for the Heatwave show last week, so you can see how that's affected the standings. And as we head towards Clash in Paris as the next big event, you can just follow along and see how our various rosters are doing in each member of our roster to see who is in the best position going into that show.
Off the top of your head, do you know if there's anybody that's really terrible on anybody's teams or like a major disappointment?
Well, it's a shame that Bianca Belair's been the worst one probably out of all the top picks because she just hasn't been on TV except for 2 shows, I think. So that's ruined my chances is keeping her on my card. In terms of other people that have been like bad, probably
it looks like you got -34 for Bianca Belair. That's pretty bad.
And Roman's been -18 for Rob as well, but we knew that would be the case because he just never shows up regardless. So yeah. Other than that, everyone else is in a positive, as if you count like the trades that we've made as well. So, but yeah. So that's kind of the current situation. I should have reminded Rob while he was here, but obviously he's off now, so I'll probably message him about it. He probably should probably look to take Naomi out of his team at some point because I don't think that's going to help him in the long run. But we'll wait and see if he decides to notice it. Maybe I won't mention it. Just see if he notices at some point. But yeah, just follow along there at the www.fantasyleague.com.
So I'm actually, since we're on the air, I'm just gonna see if I can come across something right here. I'm seeing that Talatonga's only got me a grand total of 5 points. And
yeah, he's only had 1 match since you put him on there. So
that's, I made the mistake last year of keeping him around forever and then them not using him.
Well, technically it's not Talatonga, it's the guy that you had before Talatonga and now Talatonga. So Talatonga, because obviously I don't just, it's whoever you traded for Talatonga at some point in the thing. So there was someone who was getting you like a lot of negative points earlier on. That's compromised Talatonga's standing. So it looks like he's got 5 points, but it's actually he's probably gotten about like 12 points or something like that since then. I don't know when you traded for him, but it was definitely it was someone else that was causing you problems. It's not his fault that his points seem that low.
Yeah, I don't remember who I had traded for him.
No, I can't remember either.
At least not off the top of my head. But I'm looking through the roster right now to try to just see if there's maybe anybody that stands out to me that would be like, I always forget, that there's like the NXT people or so and so that could like get a big run. Although, of course, now that I'm looking at everybody, it doesn't really look like anybody stands out to be like, okay, well, that person's making a big run for something right now, or that seems like, let's head in that direction or whatever. Actually, wait, so we got, how many trades do I have still left? I have 13 trades left.
Yeah, throughout the whole season.
And none like from any kind of prediction things that like offset that or something, right?
You had your week where you could have made a limited number of trades and you didn't do it. Well, you did do it, but then the week's been passed, so you have to you didn't actually use that because you decided to take the trade yourself. Well, either way, you can't do anything. You have to trade.
Now it would count.
You have to just take trades now.
For the sake of it, even though it's, I'll water down my 13. I'm going to swap Tala Tonga for Asuka.
Yeah. Make a note of that.
Just in case Asuka wins that belt.
Okay. Drop you down to 12 trades then.
I can't imagine Tala Tonga's winning the championship anytime particularly soon. I probably should get rid of somebody else like a Solo Sikoa or somebody like that somewhere in the future. And, I don't want to run out of too many of my opportunities, but that'll probably be the only change that I make. So there you go. Now you got a live fantasy league thing happening up on the podcast at the end of this. So go to WWEFantasyLeague.com, everybody. Check out what is happening there all across the board. And of course, stay tuned for the Clash in Paris stuff that's happening on Sunday. I have a post show immediately following that. And that'll be the next time that you hear from me. But I do this for now. This has been another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.